Hey y'all, my name is Andrew Fedge. Currently, I am a part-time IT guy, and I'm here to talk to you about a little JRPG called Lost Odyssey. Kind of the basics about it. It's turn-based JRPG for the 360. It was a console exclusive. One of the reasons that I love this game so much is because of the time in which it came into my life. I'm someone who came very late into the RPG world, and because of that, nearly everything that I had experienced so far was at least PS2 era. So I was very used to turn-based systems. I was used to 3D graphics, not sprites. I was used to voice acting. And when the PS3 and 360 came out, the visual bump up for the graphics plus voice acting kind of hit all of my points. And I had several months that I could kind of chug away at it, and I just fell in love with the world, the characters. So let me kind of just start off from the beginning of the game, and I don't want to get too spoilery about end game stuff. There are some tropes that are present, for better or for worse. They're there. The world begins essentially mid-battle. Your first player character is a man named Kaim. He is an immortal. He knows he's been around, and there are stories that reference him, but he has no real connection to those memories. So for now, he's just kind of serving as a soldier. And a thing about the world that is pretty important is that there are a lot of different countries, and they do not get along. And the battle that Kaim finds himself in, it's a war. Kaim's doing all right because, again, immortal. And then something apocalyptic happens, like fire from the sky, lava. The only one to survive is Kaim. So he reports back, and pretty quickly the political machinations begin, and it is decided that Kaim will be joined by Seth, and Seth is quite the badass. Seth is also immortal. She is suffering from the same problem that Kaim is. The immortals are very few and far between in this world. A third member of the main party is brought on right around this point, and his name is Jansen, and he is a mortal. He is a black mage. He is not the best guy, especially in the early game. He is just in it for the money, and that is in fact why he's here. Jansen has been paid a lot of money to keep an eye on these two immortals, to keep them useful weapons for that nation. The first part of the game is essentially a mission out to something called Grand Staff. It is exactly what it sounds like. You learn Kaim and Seth are the physical fighters, Jansen is the magic guy, but this is also where some of the more interesting battle mechanics come in. As immortals, Kaim and Seth do not learn things on their own. You can equip them with things, and you can sort of do this link with a mortal character. So as the mortal character gains levels and learns new things, suddenly those become things that you can set up your immortal characters to start learning as well. Sometimes the immortals essentially have to be multi-talented. That's kind of the juggling act that you're going to go through the rest of the game with as you gain more characters. And it really allows for a lot of opportunities to spec out your characters the way you might want to, or the way that is appropriate to the particular fight. It was one of the things that I had the most fun with. Kind of moving on to the combat. Beforehand, I knew it was going to be the classic turn-based system. I enjoy that. I do not have the best hand-eye coordination. The ring system of Lost Odyssey is something that doesn't come into play until you have made all of your choices. And as Kime or Seth runs to the enemy that you have assigned to them, a ring appears, and I don't know how to describe it other than anime lines that affect to show you that high-speed motion is happening, and if you get it good, you can get critical hits, you can siphon off MP, you can siphon off HP. So just that little twist that allowed me to go through the menus, make all my choices, and then as the action began, I still had something to do as a player. That kept me actively engaged in the battle. It provided a flow and a reason to stay engaged during the battles. Sometimes it could go horribly wrong for me. There were some things that I missed very badly, and so a lot of mini bosses got a lot of good hits on me because the thing I was trying to pull off did not happen. This is kind of where I feel like I need to return to that first mission. So the trio reaches Grand Staff, and it is pretty much a mess. You accomplish what you were sent there to do, but as that happens, Kime, Seth, and Jansen get captured by Numara, which is a country that's so far not been involved in these wars. It's very isolationist, and they're a little concerned about all of this war tech. So now you three lucky people, you get to go back to Numara and explain what is going on. And through this, as we flash back to the capital, it becomes much more clear that while Kime and Seth don't really know what's going on or why their memories are missing, there are people that absolutely know and absolutely sent them on this long-ranging mission to get them out of town. So through being captured by Numara, you are led to an island nation ruled by another immortal. Her name is Ming Numara, and she is also suffering from knowing that she's immortal, also essentially memory wiped. She's doing her best just to kind of stay out of everybody's way, not get involved, not put her people into some kind of compromising situation while all the other nations are going to war with each other. And once Kime, Seth, and Jansen are essentially released, they're not allowed to go home, but they do have free reign of the island, which of course in RPG speak means you're about to meet a whole bunch of other characters that are going to join your party. And this is where Kime and Seth really start to have some breakthroughs. This all seems very familiar to them. It turns out that it's entirely possible that they have children, and that it's been so long that they have grandchildren out there. Really, this is the point at which I kind of want to stop, just because as you gain two more characters pretty immediately, and they have a relation to Kime, so suddenly he has more memories brought back to him, and he feels very, very responsible for these two younger children that are very intent on joining him and the group in whatever it is they're doing. But again, as I said, just every step of their quest was designed to get them out of the way for the longest period of time. You're going to circle back through the 60 to 80 hours that I always kind of plot out for RPGs. What draws me in so much really is the discovery of the immortals regaining their memories. Jansen, who was initially hired to be I don't care, whatever, give me the gold man, before they even get to Grand Staff. He can pick up on the fishy stuff that's going on back in the capital, and because he knows there's something going on that's really wrong, and hanging out with these immortals may both bring him adventure, which he's not the biggest fan of because he's a bit of a coward, but may also bring him recognition and riches, which he's a much bigger fan of. And just one of the things I really, really love, especially as more and more characters are added in, are discovering exactly what their connections to each other are. The immortals are kind of a mixed bag. Some of them retain more than others. The mortal characters are also kind of... There are some really big found family tropes heavy in this game, even though a lot of it is these immortals have distinct family ties to some of the other characters in the party, whereas Jansen is kind of the outsider, but very much becomes an insider as he sees more and more that what these guys are doing isn't close to what he was told as the cover story. And as things all kind of become clear and take shape, Jansen's turnaround, he stays the wisecracking black mage who's just got an attitude about things and deflects with humor, really. But everyone in the main cast really shows a tremendous amount of growth through this. For the immortals, it's about getting their memories back, finding out what they're doing here in the first place. How did they lose them? Why? And for the mortal characters, especially since a lot of them involved were offspring of the immortal characters, it's since the immortals had no memory of them, they didn't know they were out there really. Not until those memories unlocked. And so they've been absent. A lot of the mortal characters are just kind of at various stages of their lives coming to terms with who Kime and Seth and the other immortals are. They're on this big fancy quest, save the world kind of stuff. Is that for me? Do I really want to, I had my life going just fine before y'all showed up and came through with the plot train. Do I join, or do we try and deal with what it was like for me as a mortal to be left behind by you, whether you meant to or not? And that's the kind of deep characterization that draws me in as they learn more, as Kime, Seth, and the others put together the pieces of who they were, who they are now. Suffice to say that the more the immortals learn about their time on the planet, who these people were, and how close they were to each other, what they meant to each other, it all becomes that much more powerful. I can't remember exactly what it was that was going on in my life around 2008, 2009, but just being immersed in this world where I could relate to these people. I had a lot of memories that I no longer had access to. The game's premise of allowing these people to rediscover those things and incorporate them into who they are now and just better themselves by remembering who they were was a real unexpected and real big hook for me to find out as much as I could about the lives they live, because it was sort of therapy in a way, following along with what they discover and what they decide about what it means. Just added a whole nother layer to characterization that really, really impressed me. In many ways, they are biological family, a lot of them. In a lot of other ways, they're found family. They made the choice to be a part of this party and make the world a better place. And that is why Lost Odyssey is still one of my top 10 favorite games that I have ever played. And kind of a quick PS about Lost Odyssey, I began playing the game again in preparation for this recording, and one thing I don't think that I made sufficiently clear is just, it is indeed a product of the time that it was made, but there's so much humor in this game. It very much can kind of whipsaw between very, very deep and sometimes hurtful emotions from any of the characters, but in a lot of situations, so many of those characters have some of the bitingest, funny lines, just back and forths, and that's part of kind of what builds that family dynamic, that real friendship group dynamic that keeps the game from falling into just being a sad, sad journey. Yes, bad things are happening around them, and yes, they have this ultimate quest to fix the world, but at the same time, the writing team and the voice actors just pull off some comic brilliance at moments when this game needs it the most, and I wasn't feeling like I was getting it there in the first take of this all, so I felt like I needed to add it here just to let you know that if you do decide to go, yes, it's heavy subject matter, but it is also going to be a very funny ride to be on, and I hope you appreciate that aspect of it too. I do hope that I've sparked an interest in you to go ahead and check it out, but for now, take care, and as always, happy gaming.